So the intro here is for anyone who doesn't know, and I would be surprised anybody who's in this room right now doesn't know, but I am making a totally unofficial, totally non-rights, like just completely illegal
Would you say it's officially unofficial?
I might be quoted. I might be quoted as saying.
Actually, I'm kind of stepping on someone else's branding with that. Scratch that. Never mind.
I've been using that all along. I've been using that all along.
Officially unofficial.
Sometimes just the official anime unofficial. Yeah, it's just some version of that. But yes, we have no right to do this. But as fans, we are. This is Taking Flight. This is the animated Alpha Flight fan film that has been percolating for. Well, sorry, one question from my coworker. Is Jeremy Fisher a singer or a cartoon maker? He is a singer. Yes, he's a singer. Yes, he's a singer. Yes, and we made a cartoon. We're making a cartoon about him. Okay, sorry about that. We have many questions when it comes to cartoons over here, so I'm apparently the resident expert.
Well, she lives in the right house for those.
Right. Okay. So years ago, Kalman and I had the experience of working on Captain Canuck.
What a lovely way to put it.
Yeah. This is not the place to tell that story. However, there are some broad strokes that sort of are necessary. I met Kalman over Captain Canuck. I knew his work already, and I came to Toronto to make cartoons for Smiley Guy Studios. And while I was there, it turns out we had been having meetings over Captain Canuck with the rights holders. I then got to meet Kalman, and one very revealing drive to Ottawa later, we were best friends. And have been ever since.
So that drive culminated in us lying in bed together watching Vine videos.
That's true.
Because there was only one bed.
It's true. It's true.
Where we were staying.
We were coming to Ottawa from Toronto. We were coming to Ottawa from Toronto for the Ottawa Comic-Con to talk about Captain Canuck. Captain Canuck was kind of everything for both of us for a while. Kalman completely revamped it and retooled it for the current generation. He built the world. He did everything on that thing. That design, that's all him. And it is one of my favorite things I've ever had the pleasure of working on. In terms of the pockets of experience involved, the overall narrative ended in trauma and degrees of PTSD and great disappointment. However, we did get to make a Captain Canuck cartoon. The first season,
a lot of good along the way.
Yes, there was absolutely. No, it is still, and I will say to this day, the singular episode of season 2, which is the one that Kalman and I wrote, which is the one that I directed, that Kalman and I had the most control over, is still the only thing in my entire career in animation that I will watch over and over and over again. There is that part of my brain that sees all the problems in it, all the flaws, all the things we couldn't do because we did it in 3.5 weeks for next to no money. But it was also the thing I sunk my teeth into the most. And as a fan, I just like it. It's the cartoon I want to see. When they sent me the first audio cut, the first cut with audio baked in, I stood in my kitchen and I watched it like 3.5 times, 4 times, 5 times. I don't know. It was just, it's still that for me. And I still go to that YouTube channel and give them a hit every now and then because I have to watch it. But coming out of that, actually coming out of season 1, the team on season 1, having had a difficult experience creating the show, wanted to make something to exercise all of that from our system, to find just to get to do it our way and do it right as far as we were concerned. So we sat down for dinner. Myself, Jay Torres, Sam Chu, who was our director on the first season, and a fellow named Al Charias, who was our assistant director and just an amazing artist. And we started talking about Alpha Flight. And along the way, we decided we needed to make a film, and we needed to make a film that did right by Alpha Flight. And for us, that means basing the physics and basing the world on the first 24 issues, the John Byrne run, which is the classic run. Alpha Flight has been through many permutations over the years, and a lot of fans really like to grumble online about the various treatments of them. I've been working my way through the entire Alpha Flight run, every version of it possible, and I have to agree, if I were that kind of diehard fan, I'd probably feel a little brokenhearted over how some people reinterpreted these characters. So that brings us to now. It's been a few years. We did go back to do that season 2, and that fell apart. And all these years later, I still want to make this thing. So I've been poking away at it slowly on my own. There was plans to do a Kickstarter last year, but then COVID hit, and I really didn't feel like I could put my hand out that way for the kind of money required to make animation. So I've folded it into my Patreon, and it's just something that I'm poking away at, mostly on my own. And with a lot of very generous, wonderful people who like to help out. So when the time comes, I will be raising money to do the full production. So you're all going to get hit up for a Kickstarter at some day. And if you didn't notice, there was a very subtle plug for my Patreon there. So anybody who wants to go to anybody who wants to check that out, please do. Someone will put a link in here somewhere, I guess. We'll figure that out. But what we're doing is trying to do right, like I said. And in that meeting, that initial meeting, we talked about the classic lineup, and everybody at one point turned around and said, well, what about Marrina? Because we all kind of forgot about her. And that's a lasting thing for Alpha Flight fans. That's a lasting thing that kind of, Marrina had a lot of potential, but she was really a blank slate in those, there's a lot of ingredients there, but she kind of got forgotten about a lot. And there've been varying takes over these to try to make her more interesting. And I feel like they just kind of keep moving further away from what the potential is of that character. In that meeting, we talked about not using Marrina. I stewed on that pretty much through dinner. And at the end of the meal, I turned around and I said, we have to do Marrina. And not only do we have to do Marrina, she's our hero. She is to Alpha Flight what Alpha Flight is to the rest of the Marvel Universe. And if we don't do right by her, we're not doing right by this team. So I've made it my mission in this reinterpretation of Alpha Flight for a modern audience that Marrina is Canada's greatest superhero. She is, I will be very transparent here. There will be spoilers to a certain degree. We open our film with her in, I'm changing it to Grand Bank, Newfoundland, because it's a town I know and love, and I can write about it and draw about it in a way that is very real. And it's basically Mac showing up to recruit her. And she's a teenager who's a huge, this is all spoilers, she's a huge Puck fan. And she gets to meet him, and it blows her little mind. And then we jump to what is essentially the current day, and we see a fully realized character coming out of her shell. She is the hero of our story, and she is an omega level waterbender. Like, we are making this kid everything she could possibly be. So again, I don't want to give away too much, but this makes this because most of those characters I don't have to do as much to them, because if we just go back to those core pieces, they're all there. We go back to the core piece of Marrina, and there's a lot of room to play, and there's a few things that have to be dealt with. I mean, if we look back at the tone with which, the time in which these things were written, Kalman, what was the line about the small town where she was not so? Do you remember Burns' description?
Which one? No, I guess not.
The East Coast small town. I think there's a line about inbreds.
Oh,
so as a freak,
I think I forced myself to forget that.
Oh God, no, it's there. It's there. So this is the kind of update we're trying to bring to it, and I think that Marrina's an amazing character to play with in today's day and age. So this is what we're doing. So on my notes it says talk about the character, and there's note inbred and note problematic. I know, right? And so
problematic. Whoa.
But we are taking our cues from the Byrne era. Okay, basically the point of this film is to kind of take what was solid and what was iconic about Alpha Flight in the early days. We're putting it through a contemporary filter. So we'll be landing it in something of like a little of like an MCU kind of a universe. And along the way, I also get to destroy Young and Dundas Square, which is one of my missed opportunities from Captain Canuck season 2. For anybody who knows me, I have a complete, utter hatred for Young and Dundas, for Dundas Square. It triggers every social anxiety and every bit of agoraphobia in me. And I have been writing the destruction of Young and Dundas for years. We get to do a little bit of that in this short. So our new take on the character is that it's this small town girl from Newfoundland. She is half Plodex, or she's Plodex, and she's imprinted on water and water creatures, and she's imprinted on humans.
Should we talk a little bit about how Marrina was in the comic, like just to give context to the changes?
Yeah, do it. I'm gonna let you take that.
Okay. I need to switch to my other account. So keep talking a little bit. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna exit this and join via my iPad.
Marrina in this context. So updating her for today's day and age, and what we're planning on doing with her. Small town kid, alien, raised by with small town values, let's say. For me, I didn't even know I was doing it, but I was creating definitely some parallels to Superman. This is my great my great quest in writing superheroes is I really have a thing for aspirational heroes. I'm working on something else that is a revenge hero, and it's a real challenge for me. That was what drew me to Captain Canuck as well. In those early conversations, there were a lot of talk about his motivation and trying to like maybe he had to be darker, and I just don't think there's any reason for any of that. Certain characters are that. Certain characters are something else. Superman is one of those characters that is something else. And Marrina has all the same ingredients. So here I am coming around again and writing an aspirational hero. She is discovered in small town Canada on the East Coast. She is raised by two loving parents who support her. She is not made to feel different. She is not made to feel like a freak. She is supported and loved. And that to me is all the motivation anyone needs to take on the mantle of heroics, to make on the mantle of nobility and doing the right thing. So rarely is the motivation in comics and superheroes. Shitty writing is let's make them dark. Shitty writing is doing that to characters that aren't that. And I see that all the time, and I get so frustrated. My white whale is Superman. And to see people not get the character, not understand what you, and quite frankly, in most of those cases, fuck it, write harder, dude. You're not trying to, dude, not dude, sorry. Write harder, human. It is a question of that. Giving somebody, cracking a character to give it new motivation so you can write it the way you want to write it, maybe you're not the person to be doing the job. So that was always my feelings about Canuck. That's always my feelings about Superman. And I can strap that all over Marrina in terms of she was just taught to be a decent human. And when you have powers with great, it's the line, with great power comes great responsibility. If you have the widest shoulders in the room, you should be offering to carry the load. So
there's some parallels in her origin story to Superman.
That's what I was just saying when you were off. It occurred to me while this was happening that I was like, oh crap, small town country Canada, alien lands on Earth, like it's all there. And she's raised right, simple as that. So when the time comes that the big black SUVs pull up in front of her house and James Hudson walks into her kitchen and says, let me tell you about Alpha Flight, she's ready. She's got a Puck poster on her wall. And spoiler, she comes down the stairs in this big home knit black sweater with a big orange P on it. And when Puck walks in, she is starstruck and she is in. And that was in that original relationship was in there in those original comics. They were clearly trying to do, Byrne was trying to do the Wolverine and Kitty, that thing, and Puck and Marrina were that, and then it kind of went away. It kind of Andrew Healy, turn off your mic.
He might have a question.
Yeah, he's coughing. It's twice now.
It's interesting that Sam Noir just posted something where there was a scene between Puck and Walter where it almost seemed like for a minute he was trying to set up like a Ben and Johnny in the FF kind of dynamic, and then pivoted and really made Puck and Marrina kind of like the BFFs on the team, which was kind of an interesting move. But it felt different from Kitty and Wolverine to me. Like, I guess if you zoom out far enough, it kind of is. I mean, but
yeah, I think there was a kind of a template baked in there. Like Byrne certainly had some comfort zone in that kind of.
Okay, let's do some screen sharing, and we can talk a little more. I assume everyone's here knows what Alpha Flight is and has at least some knowledge of Marrina, even if it isn't deep. You probably all forgot about her because that's kind of Marrina's story.
So let's make it this opportunity for anyone to chime in if they want to. Who here doesn't know anything about what we're talking about? Does anyone want to put their hand up? Don't be afraid.
That's me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that would be your age talking. Francis is one of my my former students.
So Alpha Flight was a comic from the 80s about Canadian superheroes. They were bad guys in the X-Men, and then they turned into good guys and got a comic. Marrina is the member everyone forgets about. I'm going to share my screen now.
Yeah.
Let's see if it'll work.
Just like the Great Lake Avengers.
Strangely, that was also a John Byrne creation. So kinda.
Yes. It's sort of Great Lakes Avengers 1.0. And then imagine if they became a massive hit and John Byrne had to quit all his books and just do that book.
Right.
So he punished the readers and the characters because he was so bitter about it.
It's a strange story because we all want to think, everyone wants to think that it was like he was going to do his Canadian super team. But yeah, he really didn't like doing it, which is odd. Because there seems to be, I mean, he tried his best with the Canadianness of it.
Can everyone see my screen?
I can see it.
Cool. Okay. I just
yeah.
Panic interruption. Sorry.
No, I'd actually like to hand over to you. Keep going.
Okay, so this is Marrina. You know, aquatic character. There's some interesting elements here, but she's a bit forgotten. Let's see. Why can't I scroll? Okay, there we go. Here's her in another appearance with her BFF Puck, as we were just speaking about. There was a bit of a rethink for her costume at this point, subtle changes to the silhouette of her hair, a little more regal. They were kind of leaning into a sort of I think this was when they were starting to tie her into Namor.
Yeah.
You know, there was a plot line where it was discovered that her alien race was actually kind of evil conquerors, and she had this sort of She-Hulk hulking out kind of element. This is sort of what her race looks like. They're like protean shape changers. So the reason Marrina looks like a human is she basically was found by these humans and she kind of copied their form. The Plodex, I think Plodex are intended to not be static copies. They're supposed to be shape changers, but Marrina got stuck in that form because of a bad guy. Anyway, here she is in her civilian identity, and this is some of the stuff that I personally think works the best with her. Like Marrina standing on a Newfoundland cliffside in a cable knit sweater is what resonates for me more than the bathing suit. There's something there, and it sounds like Mike is leaning into that, which is great. The thing about this character is I remember as a kid, her haircut really bothered me because it was a little too recent retro, which, you know, anything 10 years out of date just sucks. Doesn't really get rediscovered.
Very peak 80s.
Yeah, until 20 years out. So this was like 1982, and this is a haircut from 1978, and it just did not land very well. You know, he tried to do some things. I personally like this sort of, not the look of it, but the idea of it. Like, she lives in a town in Newfoundland of like 28 people. And so maybe the barber drives out once every 6 months and has to do the whole town. So there's not really a lot of time for, you know, it's kind of like nursing home hairdresser, but in rural Newfoundland. Anyway, this is sort of the classic Marrina. This is all she's ever been. There are some interesting things here. The thing that's cool about Marrina, in my opinion, is she's an alien who created an aquatic form. So like, if you zoom out far enough on this design, you basically get half fish, half gray alien, or half frog, half gray alien. Those large eyes are kind of both a strength and weakness. They're her only iconic element, because everything else is so pared down and simple, except maybe color palette. But when you have a character that's both fish and alien, like, those are the right eyes. The problem is they're a little opaque. Like, it's hard to relate to her because of them. I think that's kind of gotten in the way. On the one hand, they're large and innocent and luminous, and that's kind of her vibe too. She's kind of the innocent on the team, which is not a cool archetype for a female character, especially now, and it wasn't in the 80s either. I mean, I think there's room for a quiet, subtle character. Like, not everyone has to be a loud, brash superhero, and not every female needs to be aggressive to be strong, but she was sort of innocent writ large. And that I think also contributed to her just kind of getting pushed to the back.
Well, and when she was the focus of a story, she always, even however aggressive she's been in it, she was victim.
Yeah, even when she was hulking out, she was a victim of her alien programming or whatever. So there are other takes of Marrina through the years. And, you know, she was rebooted into this sort of early 2000s party girl, which keeps the iconic color scheme, but basically changes everything else. This costume isn't really my thing, but it is a more memorable costume in terms of silhouette and elements than what she had. But this just doesn't feel like Marrina at all, despite, you know, that there might be more going on.
And having, and I will say, having read those issues now, it no offense to anybody involved, but it definitely felt like, okay, we're going, what can we do to make this character relatable and hip and edgy?
Right. Somebody went, she's not cool, let's make her cool, which, you know, in theory is essentially what we're doing too, but it was so drastic. It felt like it kind of lost everything that made that character. So this is a piece of fan art I found by Mike Seriously on Instagram. And it encompasses kind of the cable knit sweater cliffside thing, but in a slightly more modern, but also retro kind of way. I mean, this is vintage now, but it's from after the character was created. And she's kind of looking teenager-ish here, and I know that's kind of your take too. So I like this a lot. Also, this is a page. It's a page. I have another view of it somewhere else, but Jibril Morris at Fan did this story with can't remember the writer's name, but he's amazing. He's my new favorite.
Oh, this is the guy from out east, right?
He's from Prince Edward Island. Jay or Jake. If anybody knows the writer's name, please chime in the chat. I'm embarrassed. But I mean, we're primarily talking about costuming here. Still a bathing suit, but it's suddenly got an iconic element. So the problem essentially is twofold, I think, in that it's too bland and the color palette is too unified. It's yellow and two greens, and there's not enough contrast, either in the shapes or in the colors. And then you have these eyes, which are the single iconic element, needs something more iconic elements. But they're also kind of a barrier combined with the quiet nature. You know, the outsider doesn't always have to be an innocent, but it can be. But archetypally, the outsider in the group is important. That's, you know, from a story perspective, you need an outsider, not just the new person joining the team, the way Mike's interpreting it in his take on Alpha Flight, but it can even be a longstanding member of the team, just somebody who's different. It offers perspective. It offers a commentary on what the characters that are all less diverse are doing. So, you know, having an alien with a group of humans, having a non-mutant with the X-Men, so on, so on, so on. So there's a place for a quiet, regal, alien underwater character. I just want to shout out this is another fan art by Jay Bone. I love this. I love everything about this. I mean, the personality is a little spicier than maybe Marrina, but this doesn't really change anything. But the starfish hair accessory really does something for it. Obviously, Bone's art is super fluid and alive. The 60s, I mean, it's the same sort of hair silhouette, but it's a different hairstyle with the side sweep. It's fun. Like this made me feel like there was something to be done here. Like there's room to kind of bring this character to life, and you don't have to turn her into, you know, clubber to make it work.
Yeah, and I think that's where we're, you know, it is definitely that, like, let's we don't, it's a cliche. It's a
so
cliche.
After our last talk, I went away and started thinking about all of these things, and I went and I hunted a whole bunch of reference, and I started to, first of all, this is my fan cast. If they ever did a live action Alpha Flight, she's a little too old for the teen take, but her face feels like sort of what Byrne was going for. Even with long hair, it looks like she has a round haircut, large eyes, pointy chin. That's what I kind of started to look at.
Okay.
Your mileage may vary. I looked at your work, Mike, and of all of them, this is the face that I love the most. I ended up going with a different one for my workover of your stuff, but the energy of this I'm loving, and the simple graphic profile of the chin and the cheek, like this, there's a sort of heart-shaped roundness to Marrina, and this captures it really well.
It's funny because that is just a scribble version of what my original sketch was when I first started thinking about this, like 5 years ago. That was me recently kind of going back to that first sketch to kind of figure out if it still fits and feels right. And because there was something to that all along that just really made me feel like there was something in this character, that the vulnerability is in that, and at the same time you can, like, I don't know, it just, that's the one that gelled for me in terms of what we could do with her, and everything else has been sort of like, how do I don't know, maybe second guessing. I think it's hilarious that's the one you've grabbed.
Yeah, I mean, innocence and guilelessness is important. And there's sort of anime wasn't really popular in 1982 yet, not in a mainstream way, but I don't know if it was Byrne's response to anime. It's interesting. I mean, those eyes are generally exaggerated to make you relate to the characters more, because these are solid black. It's sort of yes and no at the same time. So anyway, as you know, Mike, I went away and did a deep dive and found lots of research, and this was sort of the upshot. I texted you the next day. And
this was actually, this was hilarious. I loved this because getting you invested in this is has been one of my deep and private goals for a long time. So when I received this text, it was fantastic. Would you care to read for the group?
Having poured over loads of reference in the past 24 hours, I'm 99.99% sure Marrina has no ears. Other people have drawn ears on her, but original Byrne Marrina has none. Also, her eyebrows are essentially on the side of her head. Fascinating choice. There's a lot more going on here than at first glance.
At which point...
so one of the first big moves I made when I started sketching was I was like, this character does not need eyebrows. There's plenty going on with the eyes. I'm just going to delete the eyebrows. And then I kind of looked closely at this page, which was the beginning of my suspicion. Like, she's diving into the water here. Her hair should be flying back and revealing some ear. And there ain't no ear. Even when she's underwater, when your hair underwater kind of drifts and moves around, it never moves because it's covering that. So my pet theory, I had to investigate this and it was proven wrong, but my pet theory was there's a flashback shot of her egg hatching in the hands of the old couple that finds her, the like Newfoundland Ma and Pa Kent. And I thought, wouldn't it be funny if that lady had her hair covering her ears? So when Marrina like imprinted on her and copied her form, she just didn't realize humans had them. And then that was just how it was. Unfortunately, I finally found the scene and her ears are visible. So that breaks that. But also I want to specifically draw your attention to that strange boomerang shape of eyebrow. Look at how low it goes. It almost dips below the edge of her eye. And it terminates in the front, sort of halfway above her eye. So it's like a normal eyebrow, but it's rotated 45 degrees. And I went from thinking Marrina doesn't need eyebrows to being absolutely committed to including those as another iconic element, because suddenly without them, it's not really Marrina, even though I never consciously noticed them before.
So, I, of course, like after hearing this from him, did the deep dive as well, looking through all the old Byrne stuff. There is no evidence to indicate that Marrina has ears one way or the other from anything I could see. Kalman, I think I'm going to switch to my...
Do it.
Yeah.
I think I have to shut it off though, right?
I think so. Okay, so is that screen? Am I sharing?
Yes.
Okay, so you can see my general. Okay, so getting frustrated with this process in terms of not being able to dig
What's
up.
What's that folder there that says furry porn? Do not click.
That's actually was research I did for Furry Force.
There you go.
Back in the day. So there was something. So yeah, I decided like screw this. We're trying to figure this out. And in order to do so, where did I even put it now? I think it's on the desktop here. I went straight to the source. the legendary Byrne Robotics message board, where Mr. John Byrne, the creator of all of this, goes to share his opinions about things with his fans, his very opinionated fans. I downloaded this. Where did I put it? I'm terrible.
Why aren't you sending me those references? I see a folder full of art that
I know.
was
This
not
is stuff
shared with me.
I haven't shared it with you yet. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Also, that right on the desktop, there's a Marrina beside the classic Byrne Marrina. What is that?
I just found it. I'm going to show it to you. I just found it. I know this is. I found
always
it
been holding
night.
out on me.
I found it last night. Where did I put this thing? Hang on. Okay, I got to go back.
I'm throwing you off your game.
You are. There we go. Byrne Robotics, the man himself answered. Here was my question. I saw some discussion elsewhere on here where we were debating whether or not Marrina has ears. They're never shown in JB's run, as far as I can tell. Her hair always covers them. I'm super curious. Is this an aspect of her alien anatomy? Is she earless under her shag? Thanks. And the man himself, she took her form by adapting the first human form with which she had contact. So I guess she'd have ears. Kalman, what do you think?
I do not accept this. Ordinarily, my philosophy is listen to the creator, lean into the creator. Obviously, you can reinterpret and change whatever you want, but his answer, the wording of his answer is very specific and very curious. What I'm hearing is somebody looking back at work as if they didn't do it, observing what's on the page and drawing a conclusion the way any reader or fan would. I'm not hearing someone say, when I blank, I was thinking blank. That's what we wanted from Byrne. We wanted him to say, here's what I was thinking. Yeah, no ears because, or no, she absolutely has ears, but I never was too lazy to move her hair or whatever. There was no reflection on the design or the drawing or the creation. He simply looked at a page the way you or I would and went, well, based on what's on the page, X, Y equals Z. So yes, it's from the mouth of the creator, but it gets a big thumbs down from me. No ears on Marrina.
Yeah, I think that basically is our license to do this as we see fit.
For the record, going back to the original gray alien plus fish in female form, gray aliens, no ears. Fish, also no ears. I mean, they have a membrane that can absorb sound, but there is no outward ear structure. So if you want to, ape sapien is another, is a version of this idea also, gray alien plus fish. No ears. You don't want to put ears on a fish. What are you, nuts? With a character that is missing some striking and specific iconography, maybe, let's lean into that choice and give her this attribute that is very specific and sets her apart from every other character.
Yeah. And I think that's where I agree with you 100%. I mean, this is where this is why we put the kind of time into the thinking part of this design. This is why we figure this out the way we do. So I put forth, I Googled frog's ears to try to find maybe a solution to this, because I still feel like you can't just have a blank side of the head. I don't like the idea of her just having like a mannequin head.
There should be something underneath the hair, but
yeah. So I went to frog with that.
It's like that vibrating membrane that Grendel in the CGI Beowulf movie has.
Oh, I never saw that. I'm sorry.
It's gross. He has one exposed eardrum, and that's why he goes crazy, because the Vikings are partying too hard.
So so there's a frog's ear. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a frog's ear. There's a lot that can be done with that. There's a lot of visually interesting stuff going on there. It's a matter of making it work within the silhouette of the head. It's the way it may making it.
Interestingly, that boomerang shadow shape is not a million miles from the eyebrow design of the original.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there was, a little research, and I don't know. Maybe I'm connecting dots that don't connect.
I think maybe you're giving it a little too much credit in that moment. Anyhow, that's the piece that I think is something we can work with. I also don't want to push her too far into like Alien. I'm
seeing a very Marrina color palette on the front end of the front.
Yeah. But like I said, I don't want to make her too alien.
Right.
I don't want to, it's that kind of like, right now we always like in movies, there's there's like 3 types of aliens we get now, and it's just we kind of lean into maybe overthinking that. I still like the simplicity of her hybrid form that doesn't have too many bells and whistles.
Even the Eaglesham redesign was kind of a step too far. It's just about punching up the things that are working and enhancing or adding maybe a balancing element. It's not about transforming.
Yeah, and the other part for me then was the body type, because we're going to see her in 2 different, well, not far apart in age, but a couple years apart. I've got a few sketches I've done where she's very kind of like sunken into herself, and she looks a very sort of like, you know, a little more sheepish, a little more insecure in her first incarnation, and the haircut being a little more like the original Byrne haircut. And by the time we see her a few years later, where she's really fully formed at Alpha Flight, you know, she's kind of standing with her shoulders back more. And I really wanted to look to body type from like swimmers and divers, like legit athletes.
Me too, yeah.
I didn't want her to have just a token superhero shape. I understand why we tend to make all these characters, men and women both, either very skinny or very whatever.
Excuse me, Mike.
Yep.
Can I just share my screen while you're talking? Because I have visuals that will complement what you're talking about right now.
You go for it. So I started poking around that way, and I also wanted to abandon the simple swimsuit. I don't like the one-piecer swimsuit. So for me, I started looking at like divers and just a bodysuit, you know, a proper bodysuit that covers her up, but is not, we got to have a swimmer's physique and a swimmer's silhouette. She's got to be able to split through the water. So no extraneous, that's why I hated those fins on that other suit, is that whatever, like just give her a sleek look and give her some muscles, give her some shoulders, and give her some thighs. At the same time,
yeah, that's what I've noticed too. It tends to be the shoulders and the thighs are very built up.
Yep.
So I was also looking at everyone's underwear.
So
everyone's favorite example of thunder thighs, heroic
I
media.
did not go near that at all. I stayed away from it.
And I mean, she's got shoulder garments here, but it creates a similar silhouette. The first take I did on this was a little too Amazonian.
Well, so let me just also throw in then quick, because I also just didn't want to take it too far.
Yeah,
you know, she's not that. She's still. I still want to maintain some of the vulnerability of the character. I still want to maintain it, but at the same time,
here's Mike's original sketches here.
So yeah, so this was where I finally landed in terms of how I see her physicality. She's not big. But it's a clean silhouette, but just like I said, like her shoulders are back, she's standing a little stronger, she's still got sort of that like late teen kind of feel to her, but she's an athlete, and that's the one I landed on, where I was like, okay, I now have a body type, I now have this is what I feel like the character is roughly going to look like. Now I had not incorporated any thinking about the ears yet, I had not incorporated any thinking about the eyebrows yet. The one thing I did add here that you liked was the freckles. Mike Mannion, can you turn off your sound? Can you mute?
No, I can hear you.
Can you mute your microphone so that we don't?
Oh, absolutely. Sorry about that, man.
That's okay. Thanks, man. Happy to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, no worries. Take me a second, though.
Yeah, it's okay.
So it's interesting that the eyebrows you've drawn here, you know, neither of us had noticed the unusual positioning, but they are the shape. Like you've got that Byrne shape, even this early. And yeah, and here's that head, the first head that I really like, and another take, a little more rendering in the hair. So these are the things that I was kind of working from. So. Okay. Did you have more to say on the physique?
Nope.
Or should we move on to so I started thinking about costuming. One of the things I said earlier is that she's missing an icon. Oh, this is the color palette. There was after we hung up, I looked over and my headlamp was sitting on my bookshelf, and I was like, "It's Marrina. That's the Marrina colors." So I literally took a photo and used that to color pick from, because it's yellow and green, but they're slightly different. They're both kind of, the yellow's a little more greenish, the green's a little more vibrant. I really like the way those were pairing together. Inspiration is everywhere, guys. That's the lesson. Don't be afraid to use your virtual eyedropper and grab from the world around you. I found the perfect Marrina color scheme right on my bookshelf.
That's right.
So getting back to costume,
right?
I feel like the green bathing suit, like in terms of yellow, greenish yellow, and dark green and light green, there's unity there, but it's almost so unified as to not be striking and not be memorable. we touched on this a little bit last time, that I realized with a shock that this other character from another superhero team, this is Fathom from the Elementals. She's literally like 0.5% different from Marrina. She's essentially identical. She's got webbed fingers and hands. She's got green skin, but it's a yellowy green. She's wearing a bathing suit and nothing else. She's an aquatic character. She is both like part fish and waterbender. This is a character that I never once felt was forgettable, or never, none of the issues that I felt about Marrina, I ever felt about Fathom. She has a completely different personality. She's an extremely outgoing character, but that's not why. I find this design extremely striking. I mean, this is an 80s comic book, so it's a very 80s approach. She's also got a dated haircut, a mullet, which at the time I think was current, not just out of date. And her bathing suit, of course, is very 80s fashion inspired, but there's contrast here. That square, in contrast to all of the fluid, just simple anatomy, the dark blue with the white against the green. Like, she's basically She-Hulk, but I would never mix her up with She-Hulk because of that simple blue and white iconographic element, which also kind of represents water. So that's what I kind of went away with. And I started looking around at like vintage sort of designs. Not necessarily that Marrina has to be 80s, but there was a trend towards graphic shapes in a certain way. And since Fathom was kind of clicking for me, I thought I would look there, not at comics interpretations, but like real life fashion. Also some modern bathing suits, trying to get some notions of lines. I stumbled across this, which you'll see how I used it later.
Okay.
But looking for graphic shapes. So, looking at this for a second, I sort of realized like, oh wait, if it were mirrored on the back, that would be an M sideways.
Yeah.
And then there was this version of her where she was like a Plodex baby clone. Like, this isn't Marrina, this is another Plodex who was cloned, but like, I really love the graphic contrast of the black and the white against the green. Suddenly that character pops, like that's vibrant. There's nothing changed about the biology, although they did make a choice, interestingly, to make the black eyes blue. I don't have another shot in another folder where you can see it's actually dark blue. The way the black areas in the original were black, it's dark blue. Just that shift actually makes it a little more approachable somehow. And then you have, and you have aquatic here too, right? This is killer whale. This is another form of ocean life coloring. Specifically, we talked about Aquaman's quote unquote camouflage costume in the original series. This is actually ocean camouflage. The reason killer whales are dark on top and light on the bottom is when you're looking down at water, it's dark. And when you're looking up from under the ocean, it's light. So I did some drawing.
Yay.
This is the first time Mike is seeing this. So what I did was I took Mike's sketch and I kind of worked over it and like tweaked some anatomical things and then kind of used that as a paper doll to quickly try out some costume designs. These are very loose. I'm under deadline crunch, so unfortunately they're not as tight or as finished as I would like, but let's talk about them.
Oh, wow.
So I used the opportunity here to try out some different haircuts too. I, again, hated the 70s bowl shag thing as a kid. I love it now. I love the 70s. The 70s has been rehabilitated in popular culture. And you know what? I should probably, well, it's okay. We're here now. I was going to show the haircut reference folder, but whatever. So this first one is my favorite. The round bangs. This is a 1970s thing that was of its time, maybe about 3 or 4 years earlier than the shag version that she had. There's something about that round bang shape that feels very, it punches up the innocence and the openness and the, like, I don't know, there was a character in an anime in the late 90s who had this haircut, and that was maybe a little too early to bring that back, but it stuck in my head because it was so unusual. And there's something, I don't know, it pushes, it feels Marrina to me more than messy, more than sharp bangs. Sorry, Mike, what?
I need to jump in. I love that first one so much.
Thanks. Great. Wow.
I'm gonna just I have to say, like, dude, this is why I called you. I have so many sketches with like just gratuitous line work on the suit that doesn't serve a purpose and feels like it's either trying too hard to look like it's functional or trying too hard. This is just exactly the simple thing. And the Aquaman camouflage suit is the reference I wanted to pursue. It also does the other trick, which I think, anyhow, it does the other trick of homaging Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
So the waterbenders in Avatar, these are their colors essentially. And
yeah, I mean, you called that out, and I was totally on board with that.
Yeah, because it's when you look at the Aqualad redesigns for some of the Teen Titans shows, they leaned into that as well. And I think that I mean, based on the chronology, I don't have an official answer on, but I think that's what they were doing too. And this hits on that level in a way. I mean, I know we've got more to talk about, but I have to stop right here because I always like to gush when the time, in the moment. Dude, and the haircut is outstanding. And Andrew Healy mentioned just now, it kind of also feels like a bit of a bathing cap.
Right, yeah.
So I'll stop in a second, but you're 95% of the way there on the first one.
Woohoo! Well, good news. That's my favorite one too. So usually the client gets really excited about the one you threw in at the last minute that you hate. So we are vibing and we're on the same page. But yeah, I made the choice to make the solid eyes a navy blue instead of a black. It's
fantastic. The blue eyes are so much better.
Yeah, the shaded area could still kind of fade to a black, and there would, if these were finished illustrations, there would be some glossy sort of white hotspot highlights. But yeah, so then the next one I kind of interpreted the poncho. I was thinking maybe it's not just fish and frog, maybe it's like all sea life, and she could swim with her arms out, kind of like a manta ray sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I fussed with that a bit to make it an M, and then I went back to kind of her original sort of simple bathing suit, but I thought like how to make that, again, just more iconic, give it something, a totemic element. So just, some of these needed a little more exploration. I think maybe that bathing suit needs a bit of white in there somewhere, maybe a dividing line between the two blues. But honestly, like the one on the left was the one I had in my head all week, and that was the first. You'll notice I interpreted that sideways M from the red dress.
I love it. It's and the thing, I mean, the one on the right is great. Like I like all of it. I can see her being in any one of these outfits at any given time. I also feel about if I'm bothering,
the poncho could go over any other.
Yeah, I feel like if I'm making, like if for me if I were to be making this as an ongoing series, it's more work. But I like characters to have more than one outfit. And totally. I mean, animation, we do that mostly just like,
every superhero get the jacket in my universe.
But I would certainly commit to variations on this. And frankly, as a powerful young woman in the public eye, so I always go away from I go away from the swimsuit also because I just don't want more skin than she would need.
Well, this is the thing I was thinking about. Like, realistically, it's weird. Like, she's so meek and modest, but she runs around in a swimsuit, which is a bold move. It kind of makes sense for Fathom. Like, she's a brassy, brash character who would walk barefoot in a swimsuit into like Wall Street office or cocktail party or whatever. But realistically, like, Marrina's an alien who's adapted for underwater. She wouldn't wear a bathing suit. She'd just be naked all the time.
Yeah.
If she doesn't have ears, she probably doesn't have other things. The swimsuit in her case actually makes sense more than, like, say, a Wonder Woman who's a warrior.
Sure.
But yes, I understand your thinking.
Right away, she walks around with the poncho on when she's not jumping into the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Pulls that thing off to do her to when she fights, because that just makes sense. That to me, again, and you know what I'm like. I'm always coming back to, like, well, why would this be this? Why would she do that? Why would this be this way? Why would? And those two pieces right there make so much sense. So much sense.
Wow, amazing. Shout out to Jibril Morissette fan who did the amazing short by Jed McKay, is the writer. I just remembered.
Okay.
Got to come at things sideways sometimes. Jed McKay is one of the most exciting new writers. I'm really into his stuff. This was Jibril's take on her hair, the middle one. I basically just reproduced it. I think it's great. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It leans into the original. It kind of jazzes it up and gives a little more interest to the silhouette. It's not where I personally would take the character, but if I had to choose, it's my favorite of all the canon Marrina hairdos.
Right.
So I thought I'd try it out.
Yeah.
I gave it a little bit of a flippy. And then I kind of took it and leaned into even more bathing cap in the next one. I tried out some other hairdos. They didn't make the final cut. I tried to emulate J-Bone's 60s sort of high font. I couldn't really do it well at this angle. But that the round bangs that's my
I think
that's what's been in my head the whole time.
Becky's saying the last one has a Rosemary's Baby vibe.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean Jenna Louise Coleman now, but you know, if Alpha Flight was in the 60s, Mia Farrow would make a perfect Marrina.
Yeah. I'm still absorbing because, like I said, like this is the first time I'm seeing all this, and I don't want you to think that I'm like they're done over. This is so cool.
No artist will ever complain about someone being happy with what they've done.
Yeah, right.
And being into the first version, like that's fine. I do have a naked version that we could draw over if you wanted to. But I think we're almost
something on your screen.
We're almost out of time, and I think we have this one working with. Yeah, I did a basic pose that we could try.
So I'll work with that as a template. Thank you for keeping it safe for work. Since we're all at work in our homes right now.
It's a family Zoom call.
Dude, this is where I was hoping to be today.
Well, happy birthday then, Mike.
Right. Shit. Yeah.
So I got you a Marrina.
Yeah, you did. You pulled it off. There's a lot to play with here still, but there's so much to work with now. Like I got so caught up in how much detail, how much this, how much that. And the other part that I want to throw in that we talked about last time as well is that for me as well, I don't like when, like if you watch like MCU movies, superhero movies, it's more in movies, but when everybody looks like they came from the same tailor. It's something I hate about all of this. Now,
I think S.H.I.E.L.D. and Tony Stark are making everyone's costumes though. So
so some of it makes sense. Exactly. Yeah. So within the confines of Alpha Flight, there are some who would have a government issued suit, and there are some who would be coming to the table with their own stuff. Like, and because it is like there's a training program and all these things, they do have like a team of PR people and designers who would be doing all of this. Marrina is one who would have a suit given to her. When you look at the original Byrne designs, there are some commonalities in them, and I think a lot of that is Byrne's shorthand in design.
Commonalities in the Alpha Flight uniforms.
Yeah, in the Alpha Flight uniforms.
Yeah, although Marrina sits outside of that.
Exactly. But yet she to me is one who would naturally have one of those outfits.
And since then, a lot of people have tried to give Alpha Flight matching uniforms, and it almost never works.
No, they're trying too hard.
Yeah, like they're. I mean, some are stronger than others, but as a concept, it always sort of. I always kind of bounce off it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Again, I don't know. Who knows what Byrne was thinking, and he probably doesn't know. You look at the comics and take a guess, but
it doesn't seem like he is.
It's there if you look for it, the unity, but it doesn't feel like they're uniforms. There's variation. I mean, I think color.
That's actually what I like about it. That's actually what I like
really
about
important.
it. It's not over the top in terms of the United. Like they don't all look like they just put on the X-Men jacket.
Although all of that said, when you asked me about designing new costumes for Alpha Flight for this, my first thought was, I'll give them all a consistent uniform. But I think if you vary the colors at least, it still adds visual variety.
The one thing I would ask you to try to figure out, to do a shot, trying to figure out a little more literally, is I was playing around with the notion of her having more direct inspiration from Puck. Like just a big M, more the way he has the big P. And how that would work with with it's, I don't know, but how that would fit on the suit that would be slightly
well it's a big M, Mike. You're only seeing
I know it's a big M, but I mean more like a front-facing literal M.
Yeah, sure.
But still with an feel free to throw in some affectation and some designiness. But I would love to see a take that is more just like a more pure homage to Puck.
Yeah, for sure.
because there is, I want, like in my thinking as they go forward, they really are a duo. And more so even than they, like, that's an aspect I would lean into if I were looking to do more stories. To the point
and Puck
where,
is a character who really doesn't need any kind of a tweak. Like, talk about iconic and striking. People have given him pants since his early appearances. I do not agree with that move.
I'm not against the pants. I
want to see hairy thighs on Puck.
Can you?
But that's just me.
Do you have can you bring up your Puck that I am going to someday buy off of you? Have you got it available?
I don't know if I'd have to open Instagram on here, which I don't have. Okay. I don't think I can do that.
That's fine. We'll do that.
It's oh, you know what? I can show it to the camera.
Yeah.
So I will stop screen share, and we'll close out on that.
Okay.
Let me just go get it.
We're at 11 o'clock now. I don't think we're going to stay on too much longer today. That's a good spot to end on with me having a smiley face. I will throw out to anybody who's here, if there's anything that you want to ask or say or anything, now you can turn on your mics a little bit if you want to join in a little bit. We can take just a couple more minutes to have a little chat time. But in the meantime, this is something that Kalman did just as a fun indulgence. And it's just so great. It's just so great. This is going to be on my wall.
You can see the hairy thighs I was talking about. Very important. I gave him wrestling boots. I made small tweaks. I gave him socks inside his boots, and I made them specifically like 80s wrestling boots. And I always like him a little bit with a bit of a boxer brief kind of
I'm with you there
thing rather than a bikini bottom. And then my Puck is a kind of maybe a little more of a bruiser than he actually is. And there's a whole thing about him like enduring pain. And I extrapolated a little more that he kind of enjoys taking a beating while he's dishing it out. It's or maybe his powers work that way or something. So anyway. So Mike thinks Marrina is the greatest member of Alpha Flight. In my opinion, it's Puck, although Guardian's kind of a close second because I just love that. Hey, the guy who redesigned Captain Canuck likes a Canadian flag costume. Call the police.
Big surprise.
Seriously. I mean, Puck is perfect design. He's so iconic.
Yeah.
And so so simple, but it's all there. And so specific.
No, it's great. It's just great.
Anybody else?
I see John taking his
Yes. I wanted to jump in and just thank you both so much for this session, first of all. So I am definitely representing this morning. So, and I just have to, I am so excited about your project. I have my Alpha Flight tribute wall with some John Byrne action figures in the team poster frame.
That Focus on John Byrne book didn't leave my desk for like 2 years in grade 5 and 6. It just followed me everywhere. I still have it.
So thank you guys so much. No profound comments here. Just know that the energy put into this project is so well overdue for these characters. And I'm really excited to see what is accomplished with it. So
thank you very much.
You know what, John, thank you. I need to hear that sometimes. This is not going to be something that gets done overnight. This is not going to be something that and I have to battle all kinds of ideas about imposing upon other humans in order to do something like this, because I've lived my entire career saying I would never ask anyone to do anything for free, because but that's also barred me from collaborating an awful lot. So the idea that guys like Kalman are getting excited about it again, because it's been so up and down trying to get this off the ground over the years. Now for me, just saying I'm doing it and committing to it, and Kalman is there for me in these moments. And I do have some really great people around who are better at so many aspects of this than I am. So I gotta, get as much as I can out of them, even if it's using up a birthday present. John, thank you. I honestly,
thank you.
It's cool to hear that. And I will impress upon you to share your enthusiasm everywhere and throw up a Patreon link if you want to. I got a plug. The more I can make that doesn't involve me working on TV shows, the more I can spend time on this, and then pay other people to do the good work. We will at some point down the road do a Kickstarter for the full production, because there will be a point where I can't do this stuff on favors and by myself. So there will be we're trying to try to get through the development process and through most of the pre-production. And then there'll be kind of okay, now we need a chunk of money. So, and I've been stockpiling art from people. I still have these great Ramon Perez originals and some other guy, the raid guys that I'm stockpiling that'll be given away as perks on the Kickstarter. Yeah, thank you, dude. I really appreciate that.
Got a couple of questions in the chat. Team leg. Do you mean the mass, the muscles, like the fact that her legs are muscular, or what do you mean by the leg? Or the fact that she's got coverings on her legs? I'm curious. I have a follow-up question.
That's a Becky.
Rebecca Champagne.
Becky.
Oh, the puck drawing. Yes. Yes, bare legs on
Yes.
puck, definitely. Thank you for clarifying that. Also, fig leaves, the shells as fig leaves. A shout out from Andrew. Thank you. And a question from John. Did we ever think of giving her long, silky hair akin to a stingray's tail? There was a lot of thinking about trying to like match elements to sea life. So specifically, the poncho as manta ray. The iconic version has short hair, and there are so few female characters that have short hair, and so many female characters that have long hair. That's something I think we wanted to keep some version of. We never really looked into changing that.
Yeah,
but I like that you're thinking of matching it to sea life. Like that would be the right reason to change that if we did. But again, it's something that sets her apart, so we wanted to keep that.
And I will admit, like I've got a couple versions. I've got some sketches where she does like once she's wet, it's more slicked back, so it's off her face. I also think there's something to characters. There's emotional shorthand and character development shorthand, where if you have a character that's kind of hiding behind their hair, in their like when they do this and their hair is off their face and they present, that shows a shift in how that character presents. So there, as much as we're doing all this other kind of hair, I guarantee there will be moments where she is hair off the forehead and we see her whole face, because that's as a
not her ears.
But well, I want to at some point we'll show what we're doing with the ears. I think I think the frog ear is a way that we're gonna.
Oh yeah, I mean no human ears. Whatever is revealed, it will not be human ears.
And for me, the only other part was this kind of mullety thing as well that was happening for a few designs. When I was doing that, those original sketches were very anime sketch kind of thing. There was sort of a swoop of hair like this, and then kind of sideburn long chunks that came down, and then a bit of mullet at the back. Yes. Sorry about that, guys. So there were some variations, but I always just come back to like I think there's so little that's iconic about her that we're trying to keep a couple of those distinctive things. And I think the short hair.
You want totems, you want memorable things, you want, if you filled her in solid black, you want to be able to know it's her.
Yeah, and the more
if I shaded in like Jean Grey, Storm, a million female characters in solid black, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart, except for maybe an occasional costume element.
Yeah, and to me that also means like if you're when you have that kind of design, you hand it off to somebody else, let's say, they're going to now interpret, the likelihood of them interpreting it as that sort of generic long hair. You want something that is kind of impenetrable to reinterpretation. You're going to hear me, the more we do these things, if we do more of them, and I'm going to try to convince Kalman to keep doing them with me, you're going to hear us talk about totemic a lot. It's a word that Kalman introduced to me, I think.
I learned it from Ty Templeton.
And it strikes to the core of what this stuff is, and what I really feel like as we're making more modern designs, they become less totemic in a lot of cases, because they kind of want to be these combat suits, and we see a lot of that. And I think that's where you break a design.
Yeah, the good version of that though holds on to the totemic element. Like there's a way to add all that busyness, but still have it tighten up from a distance and have the key elements. And then the bad version is it just becomes a bunch of noise.
Yeah. So, but that's where I say like your Canuck did that.
Thanks, man.
And you're doing it again right now. So I'm happy.
I'm happy you're happy.
Are you guys happy?
This was fun. Thanks everybody for playing along and watching along with us.
We'll do more of these things. Everybody put pressure on Kalman to keep joining me for this. And we'll try to, I'll keep you posted. The big breaks between them, but that's, the nature of doing the project like this. I'm going to try to dig up a few other people to maybe do some things around something similar, maybe talk a little bit about the writing, things like that. Again, I'll probably be bugging Kalman for that too, because I just like to do everything with him. Dude, we're a good team. Come on. So yeah,
love you, big guy.
One last plug, support the Patreon. guys.
I put some stuff in the chat, some links.
see you got
Feel
a
free to
couple
add
links there.
some too. I forgot Go Lucky. I don't know, or not. I know not Go Lucky. Taking Flight.
Yeah,
But add those in there too. If anyone's curious, you can follow us on social media. and look at more of our art.
takingflightfanfilm.com, I think. Anyhow, I'm gonna let you guys. This is
Add
it.
that in there.
That was this is awesome. Thank you so much. This is recording. I will put a little title card on it and just post up the raw feed so that people can see it, and we will call it done there. Thank you guys. Thank you, Kalman.
Take the rest of your birthday off.
Not a chance.
Yeah, what do you think this is?
Not a chance, man. I gotta make money.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. Love you all.
Bye.